But anyway, today what we're going to be focusing on is movement. And specifically, what you'll see as the headline is decoding the therapeutic vision. Decoding the therapeutic vision. And we're not going to get too deep into it, but it's really important. There's a period of time, and don't quote me on the dates of it, those like early 80s when like the Nautilus machines came out, and all of a sudden you were able to like focus on just developing your pectoralis muscles, or like just your biceps, or just your triceps, and like there's machines that were developing. So like obviously there was weights that you could do prior to that, but it was like the first time it entered into the marketplace, into the world, where people on like a vast scale could start developing their bodies kind of asymmetrically. Meaning they'll focus on developing the areas of the body that are like in front. So guys, like we want bigger arms, like a big chest, and like ripped abs. But what about the back? Like what about the back muscles? Or like so you get my point. Is like there's a period of time where we started looking at the body and separating it and being able to, which is kind of cool, honestly, to like refine an ability to develop one area. But what happens when you look at it and approach the body kind of like in segments is that you miss the totality. And Jessica, what's going on? You miss the ability to find like the balance of like the question ends up being like, should that even be developed that much? And at what point does the development of that actually become counter-effective to the health and the well-being of your body, right? And so what we teach is what we call the therapeutic vision. And I think it's one of the reasons why yoga in general is so good and so therapeutic, is that even if they don't follow this methodology, if they're moving through all of these various yoga poses, you're touching on this methodology to some degree. Now, we're very specific, and there's a method that creates predictable results in how we feel. And it's not random, and it's not like thrown, like jumbled up into in a bowl, and we're just picking out poses. Like there is an actual specific sequence of events that happens. And the reason it's so effective is that we are understanding and looking at the body holistically. Holistically meaning I'm not just developing one area of the body because of the aesthetics of it, of how it looks. I'm actually developing areas of my body because they need to be developed that way for the best feeling that happens within us, right? And so it's the therapeutic vision. The therapeutic vision is sequencing movement based on myofascial lines. Myofascial lines are simply lines of connective tissue, right? Connective tissue is, so it's like muscles that, and not just muscles, but like what actually surrounds the muscles and creates the attachments into other areas of the body, other muscles. But what these myofascial lines are these continuities where the bottom of the foot, and I'll get into it a little bit more. Again, we want to keep it higher level just so you understand that like moving the body this way is the recipe to feel good. For us, it is the recipe to be healthy at 100. So these lines of connective tissue actually are linked together. Linking them together means that if one area is out of balance, you'll actually feel that out of balanceness, right? That imbalance somewhere else in the body, right? In some modalities, they call it trigger points, right? I have something going on in my foot, but I feel it in my neck. And why is that? It doesn't make any sense when you break the body apart and you're looking at it in isolation, because you're not looking at it holistically and why one area would affect the other. But the truth is, our body is connected, right? Our feet are actually connected to the brow via these myofascial lines, just one aspect of it. What's really interesting is we went to teacher training, and there's a period of time, and actually I imagine in some areas it's still taught this way, where you would do like a general warm-up in like a yoga class, but then the rest of the class was devoted to like one specific thing. And so like on Mondays, it would be like, all right, you're going to warm up a little bit, but then you're going to devote like most of your practice to hamstrings and just opening up the hamstrings. And then like next day, we're going to do that same warm up, but we're going to devote most of the practice to just hip openers. I'm like, okay. And then like one is just to like back bending. And so all of a sudden, what was happening, even in the yoga world, this is really fascinating, that you would all of a sudden, you would be isolating a certain experience, hamstrings, hip opening, or back bending, and that necessarily wasn't balanced in that day. Now, you may get total balance if you were able to make it to the hip day and the hamstring day and the back bending day, but what if you weren't? What if your schedule just kept you on the hamstring day? All of a sudden you would be developing the body in a way that wouldn't necessarily make sense for the health and the well-being of the body as a whole, because we're focusing on one body part, one area to open. And so that's the bigger picture. So what we're asking you to do in the morning is following this methodology. What you do in yoga classes, if you practice with any Yax Yoga Concept certified studio or at Hot House Yoga, is this methodology. And the value of it is every single class, every single time you're moving, what you're experiencing is a total body, a holistic experience to create balance of strength and flexibility. The whole idea is to approach the body so that you are developing strength and flexibility. The biggest misconception is that yoga is just all about stretching. Well, most people, John talked about this when he talked about vertical stabilization and the importance of it, which was like weakness precedes tightness. So you can stretch all you want, but if you're not strengthening the inherent weaknesses in the body, your tightness won't go away, right? Or if you're overdeveloping in one area, a stronger, like for guys, because like we want to like look good in the mirror, like we overdevelop here, that overdeveloped experience here is going to have adverse effects on the back line of the body. So the whole idea is to create this incredible amount of like tensile strength matched with flexibility to balance out these lines. So let's go into the lines real quick. Decoding the therapeutic vision. Here are the 7 myofascial lines. The first one is the functional lines, right? Again, I'm not going to go too deep, but these are the most superficial lines of the body, meaning like the connective tissue and the musculature that like the moment you wake up and you start moving, they start warming up, right? Very superficial. So like once you start getting out of bed and you start getting your day moving, like they're beginning to warm. Next line is the arm lines, right? The arm lines, as it suggests, are literally just the lines of connective tissue that exist within the arms. There's superficial front, superficial back, deep front, deep back in the arm lines. Now, in these lines, there's postural functions, like what do they function for as far as your posture in relationship to gravity, and then there's movement functions, like how do they function in relationship to getting the body in one position or the other, right? Arm lines don't have a lot of postural functions because they're like an appendage, they're an extremity, but any injury or misalignment can have postural effects in the rest of the lines. So anyway, functional lines, arm lines, right? Most superficial. Once you start getting into it, and I had to squeeze in lateral lines because I forgot it, the lateral line is right here. Lateral lines, as they suggest, run on the lateral side of the body. There's 2 of them. This way, this way. They run all the way up through the neck, all the way down into the side of the calf, right? Now, you also have superficial front line and superficial back line. These 3, lateral, superficial front, and superficial back, are what we call the sleeve of the body, right? Our aim in the beginning of classes, right, and in the morning, this is why what we're going to show you the next level of what you're going to do as your mission today, is to further warm these lines up, right? This is what's so fascinating. If we just stop right there for a moment and have this discussion, the body is so genius, right? Its intelligence is remarkable, and the way it's made is just magnificent. When you're born, you're in this fetal position, right? You're very internal, right? You're literally curled into yourself. And the whole development in the beginning is a strengthening of the superficial back line to take you from this like primal fetal position into an upright position. Right? Understanding this and then having children was like, it blew my mind to be able to see when they finally locked the back line in place, and all of a sudden, like there they were, right? Upright, sitting. Like that's superficial back line development. Right? So what happens is you develop the superficial back line, which brings you from this flex state into this extended state, but then you have the superficial front line Because if you just develop this, all of a sudden you would be in this hyperextended state, right? Total back bend all day, every day. So what happens is then you develop the superficial front line to balance the superficial back line, right? So the superficial front line is designed, think about it, it engages, it shortens the front. It creates flexion of the trunk, flexion of the hips, right? Whether it's this movement or it's this movement. Dorsiflexion of the ankle. So those are the movement functions, right? Now you have the back line, you have the front line. They balance each other. Now add the lateral lines, which is for lateral flexion of the trunk, lateral flexion of the hips, AB or adduction of the hip that way. So any movement out or in is the province of the lateral line. So look at this. This is what like trips me out, is that you have back, front, and lateral that create the sleeve of the body. Getting those areas strong, right, so that they can support themselves, and then flexible is the best case odds of feeling good in your body, right? Asymmetrical strengthening of the front line, right, creates a chronic lengthening of the back line. An overdevelopment of the back line creates a chronic lengthening of the front line, and we're not looking for one over the other, we're looking for the balance of the two, right? So that's the sleeve of the body. That's what we're focused on warming up right in the beginning. When you get into the next lines, now they go deeper into the body, right? So you have the superficial functional arm lines, you have like still superficial front, superficial back, lateral lines, and now you work into the spiral lines. Spiral lines literally are just what create and mediate rotational movements of the body, right? They're slightly deeper. They like portions of the line go deeper within the body. So the idea is warm up the sleeve first and then work into the deep front, work into the spiral lines. And you'll notice in classes, this is why we wait to start doing these rotational movements, because we want to make sure that the sleeve of the body, the more superficial lines, are ready. They're open. At a certain point in the class, we devote the rest of our time to the deep front line. Deep front line is like the core of your core, right? Runs from the inner arches up to the inner calves, the inner thighs, the pelvic floor, all the way deep into the core of your core, right? There's no deep back line because you have the superficial back line and then the spine. On the other side of the spine, the ventral portion, is the deep front line, right? This is so important, and that runs all the way up through the sides of the neck, up into the skull and the sides. The deep front line is so important because it's what keeps us upright at our core. Weakness there causes all of the other lines to overcompensate, to tighten, to do the work that the deep front line's not doing, right? And so we're not just trying to strengthen the deep front line, which is like inner arches, inner calves, inner thighs, but we're also wanting it to open. That's why you find the deeper back bending towards the ends of classes. This is the methodology. Again, this is every single class. This is how we move. We go superficial to deep, and we do it systematically. The way in which you experience it is different in like certain classes, just because there's like a multitude of ways that you can actually open the body. Anyway, this is really important because for a number of reasons. One, if you're in yoga and you do and you're moving, it's important to understand the why of it. This is our why. Like we go back, any question you ever have about any class that we teach or any movements that we do, we go back to the therapeutic vision and these superficial and these myofascial lines. And two, it's also good for when you have, if there's some physical ailment you have, right? Some injury that you have, and if there's you feel pain in a certain area, typically we just look at that area and be like, I need to get a massage here. But understanding the body in this way through the lens of the therapeutic vision can also give you an insight into, well, maybe it's not actually there that is the issue. Maybe it was an old injury that I had in my foot, or maybe it's knee not tracking right that's causing the hip tension, or it's actually neck pain that's creating, or the neck issues that's creating an issue in my wrist. Right? Understanding the body holistically through the lens of the myofascial lines is what gives you a deeper understanding of why do I feel the way I do, and how do I then correct it? The trilogy for us, the holy trilogy, is yoga, body work, and chiropractic, right? Because sometimes it's a skeletal thing. You got to pop your body back into shape, right? Yoga is just the daily preventative maintenance, getting the body strong and flexible, moving via the myofascial lines. And then sometimes you just need some manual manipulation, getting deeper into the soft tissue of the body to help work and move adhesions out. Anyway, that's the bigger understanding of the myofascial lines. And so that's really it for the training today, is just to give you that bigger picture, the bigger why of like yoga and why it's so important, why we're having you move in the morning. Like now understanding it, like we're not just having you move to move, right? You can wake up and go run, but you're not moving the body in a systematic way that actually helps you feel better throughout the entirety of your day. But like first thing, you get your body moving. We talked about patterns. These patterns that you have in your body are also neurological, right? Literally, they're in the brain. Right? Your brain is either firing or not firing in relationship to the musculature in your body. Like some fixtures in the body are neurological in that the brain just isn't sending the right signals. It's either chronically inhibited, like meaning the signals aren't being sent at all, or it's chronically activated, like you're strong and it can't even relax. So this movement in the morning is so vital, not just it's for the brain, it's for the body, and not all movement is created equal. So let's go into the next level. I'm just going to show you so you can look back at this if you get confused. The movements are slightly more intricate, but not too much. I'm going to keep them really basic. And again, we're just going to do one more step back salutation. We're going to add some more multi-joint repetitive movements, which is a really great way to get the body, the joints lubricated and the body moving dynamically to prepare you for the rest of your day. But then you're going to add this in. So you're going to do I'll actually show you. Let's get into it. We good right here? Okay, so you're going to be, do like you normally do. Like keep everything the same, right? You're starting, you're breathing three conscious breaths. You're going into the cat, the cows, right? You're walking it out in down dog. Then you're stepping up and folding. You can take a deep knee bend. You're sweeping high and doing some star catchers, right? You guys are all into this, right? And then palms together, you sweep high. Now this is the first step back salutation. John showed a couple elements. I'm just going to show the basic experience, and then I'll highlight it. Like, all right, this is the next thing that we're adding to it. So you sweep high, you fold forward. You're lengthening. The right foot floats back. Right? I think John did a knee down bow. Right? But if you just kept it basic, you could still just do a lunge. You step back to down dog. Come forward to plank and lower all the way down. Modified with the knees down. A little baby cobra. Now you're looking like, oh, now it's not just a baby cobra. Now I'm opening the front line of the body. Lowering down, pressing up to the knees, hips to heels. Child's pose is now opening the superficial back line of the body. You come up, tuck the toes, down dog, superficial back line. Right leg sweeps high, right foot steps forward, knee down, bow, come up, fold, sweep high, forward fold. Now we're just doing the other side, and the left foot floats back. I think John did some pulsing lunges, right? You're just straightening and bending, straightening and bending. He may have held it. Again, you can do what feels good with that. And then from there, you're stepping back to down dog. Then you come forward, knees can drop, you lower all the way down. Now you have a bigger cobra, meaning you're opening up the front line a little bit more. And then lowering all the way back down. From here, you're either pressing up to the knees or you're pressing up into plank. Either or, whatever feels better for you. Again, if you're super early in the morning, do less. Again, it's not about getting your workout in, it's about getting the body moving and the brain awake. From here, the left leg sweeps high. Gaze forward, left foot forward. Pulsing lunges. Just, again, it's a lengthening of the superficial back line on the left side, lengthening the superficial front line on the right side. Do a couple of those. Right foot floats up, and then you fold. And then from here, you're sweeping high. And prior to now, that's where you would end. We're going to add one more step back salutation, and I'm going to show you some unique movements with this, okay? So check it out. Here it is. So after you sweep high, you're going to go right back into a forward fold. From there, you're going to step the right foot back. And you hear it in class a lot. You say, ready the legs and ready the core. What we're doing is just preparing for these sweeping crescent lunges, and this is what they look like. As you exhale, the arms will sweep back. As you inhale, you'll sweep high. And as you exhale, you sweep low. And we'll just do 3 of those. Inhale high, exhale low, inhale high. And this time, we're going to plant the hands and step back to plank. So you're going right to it. From here, there's an option to lower halfway down and press back up, or just lower all the way down. From here, we're going to slide the hands back, and we're going to press into upward facing dog. It's morning. This is just a suggestion. If you need Cobra the whole time, do Cobra. Again, it's not about getting a workout. It's about waking the brain up and getting the body ready, opening up the myofascial lines to prepare you for your day. From here, you'll come to the knees, tuck the toes, and press back into down dog. From down dog, we're lifting the right leg, we're stepping the right foot forward, and now we're going to lift the hips, straighten the lead leg, and if you have pillows next to you or blocks, that's totally fine. Or I like to pop up to the fingertips and then just start draping the body over that thigh. From there, you come back into your lunge, and then the left foot steps up and you fold. Sweeping high. Now what we're going to do is just repeat it on the other side. Same stuff, just left foot's going to initiate. So as you forward fold, left foot floats back. Ready the legs, the core, arms sweep back. With an inhale, you'll sweep high. As you exhale, you'll sweep low. Inhale high. Exhale low. Inhale high. And then, that's the third one, you'll plant the hands. And there's an option here to do a full chaturanga flow. Lowering halfway down, pressing right into up dog, and then pushing right back into down dog. Like for me, I'm not doing that in the morning. I'm lowering all the way down. Actually, it depends what time in the morning. And on the weekends, I do it a little bit later, and so I'm a little bit more warm. Sometimes I'll do it, but most of the time, I'll do a push-up, and then I'll just lower down, and then I'll slide my hands back and press back up. I just want to give you some options so that you don't feel bound to do something that your body's not ready for. And then press right back to down dog. From here, the left leg sweeps high, and I step the left foot forward, and then I lift the hip, straighten the leg. Again, from here, if you want to go deeper, the body drapes forward over the thigh. Right, here's the superficial back line of the body opening. You'll come forward into lunge. Right foot floats up, and exhale and fold. From there, bend the knees, sweep high, and then palms together, hands to prayer position. And that's it. What's so valuable about that is that you do end up moving more rhythmically. It does require more strength and stabilization of the legs, and because there's more pronounced multi-joint repetitive movements, like the brain's got to be more activated. It's just a little bit more vigorous, and I hope you feel, because for us, this is for me like that pivotal moment where I go from like sleepy, groggy, moving to like engaged, and here I am awake and I am ready. And right after that, that's what's so valuable about that. Then you're sitting down, and as you're sitting down, now it's a completely different experience of meditation. And this is the process that we do every morning. A little bit more in some days, but because we end up getting to that 20-minute mark. And again, we'll get into that over the weekend. So I hope you enjoyed it. I appreciate your attention. Thank you all for being here, and thanks everybody.